Welcome back to the Think Small podcast. My guest today is Josh Stauffer with Blue Flame Thinking. They are celebrating their 60th anniversary. Josh is the fourth owner and CEO. Welcome to the podcast, Josh.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah. So I know that it's been a little while since we spoke. So on our prep call, we kind of just talked about sort of the background about Blue Flame Thinking and why sort of the average consumer probably isn't going to, bump into your marketing, right? Your marketing company at its essence. But why don't you fill us in on what you guys do exactly?
Yeah, we are a marketing agency, which is pretty broad. Our specialty is in B2B, so just doing business to business marketing, material, sales, and efforts for our clients, particularly in pretty technical and highly regulated industries. So the financial service industry and the advanced manufacturing automation industry and the energies industry. So, if you happen to be an engineer or you happen to be a financial professional, you've probably seen some of our material, but it would obviously be branded for our clients. If you're outside of those industries, you probably have no reason to ever bump into the stuff we create for our clients, which is critical and necessary for them, but is not usually consumer facing at the end of the day.
Yeah. I liked learning about your company because I really never thought of marketing or, marketing from the B2B side, right?
Yeah.
But it's certainly, a component of it, right? I mean, they've got materials that they need to, disseminate within their organization, to their customers, the end user of their application or their tool that they're marketing and selling to their clients, right? So totally makes sense. How did you get your start? Because I know that you had been with the company for a while, but then sort of struck at an opportunity to take over ownership.
Yeah, very, very non-straight career path for me. I went to art school and got a degree in illustration, graduated and taught myself how to program, and then ended up being a software engineer for about 10 years and freelanced in that space and ended up running some digital teams at more consumer-facing experiential agencies, putting on events for like Coca-Cola and Red Bull and Comcast and companies like that. And then I was eventually poached away from that to help build out a digital team at this agency that's currently called Blue Flame Thinking. At the time, it was called Alexander Marketing, and it was kind of going through a revival in terms of new ownership there, looking to modernize the offerings that the agency was bringing to clients and become much more digital. So when I came on board, only about 10% of the agency's billings were for agency fees that were digital marketing in-house. Everything else was being outsourced. And the majority of what we did, believe it or not, in 2013 was still traditional marketing, like catalogs, brochures, the types of things that you think would be pretty antiquated, but that a lot of our clients still needed. And within a couple of years, we had flipped that percentage almost completely. And we're at this point, we're 80 to 90% digital and 10% traditional. And throughout that time, I had the opportunity to run the creative department and then also the development department at the agency, and eventually moved into a leadership role. And when the retiring owner, Steve, decided that it was time for him to divest of his business and look for a buyer, we came alongside each other, and he was exploring options to sell it to another agency, which is, happens quite a bit, or find somebody internal to buy it. And he was hoping that I would be able to pull off that feat, which I guess gives a lot of credit to me, in his opinion, because he was hoping that somebody with no business degree would figure out how to buy a very expensive business. And I ended up being able to finance it through the Small Business Administration, and about 70% of the way through paying that off and being full owner of the business at this point. So just kind of moved up through the agency structure and ranks a little bit, and then ended up in a position where I was able to purchase the agency, which I've been owner and CEO of for a little over 8 years now.
Wow. Yeah. So one thing that always kind of pops into my head, because we speak with a lot of new owners, is their experience in managing and growing a business. And it does seem like you had a lot of experience with managing a team or growing a team, growing the business, growing, you know, hitting those benchmarks to really kind of see a business thrive. So I was wondering about like that mind shift when it goes from like, I'm growing a team for somebody else to I'm growing a team for myself now, right? Like the owner mindset, like all of these people are depending on me. The liability is on me. The health of this business is on me. Like how do you compartmentalize all the pressure that goes along with owning and running a business?
I feel like you just reminded me of all that stress. Thanks. It's interesting. It is definitely a shift in the way you view yourself and the way you view your coworkers. Because I did move from being like just another person on the team who was doing, production work and management work to somebody who was still doing some of that production and management. But whether people intend to or not, there's almost an immediate barrier between coworkers / friends and employers, right? It just is a natural sort of like social construct that happens. And it does take a little while to adjust to it. I was very lucky and have been very lucky to have been able to build the team before I bought the agency full of contacts I had from the past that I was close with, that I could really trust. Many, if not all of them, have stayed for the 8 years. We have incredibly long employee tenure here. But I mean, I have an employee at the agency who I went to college with, I was roommates with, we were incredibly good friends, coworkers, and then now I own the agency he works at. And so it's a shift. And one of the things that Steve also sort of imparted to me, and one of the reasons he sold it to me as opposed to another agency, was he really wanted to make sure it was in the hands of somebody who was going to take care of the people that he had taken care of himself for 10 years. And, when you hear a departing owner sort of drill through the same things that you just articulated around, these people are responsible for you. You're responsible for making sure you can shepherd the business so that they can keep paying their mortgage and they can put their kids through school and they can afford their groceries and all those things, not to put too much weight on you, but there is a stress and a pressure. And quite often small business owners or even larger business owners handle that stress in a vacuum all by themselves. They don't have a peer group. There's nobody that they can talk to directly one-to-one at the place that they own or operate. And so I did see over probably the first 5 years I owned the business, my peer group just shifted to other agency owners that I was introduced to that frankly had a lot more experience than me and were gracious enough to give me a lot of advice, including shifting our operating system as a business onto EOS and doing other things, which has really strengthened us over time and allowed me to still be really authentic and able to connect with the people that work at the agency without like the barriers you would have at a larger group or a corporation, right? We're all really close. We're all really honest and transparent and open with each other. And that helps kind of buffer some of that disconnect that you can get moving from employee to ownership.
Something that sort of pops into my head is around, I think that in modern work, and maybe in the past, it was like, when we think about the employees, we're not coworkers, we're family, right? And then in modern work, that language has definitely gone away. It's like, this is a job. I spend most of my day here, but for the most part, it's a job. But it feels like you're almost like living in a little special corner of work where your coworkers, where you really do have a kind of familiar type culture there, right? With such long tenure there, it's almost like you really did kind of maintain and keep that sort of family aspect to work, which I don't think is a bad thing. I think that when you love the people that you work with and care about them, and you see their family grow up and you see them hit their benchmarks and milestones, you're happy for them. I think that's a good thing. I think it builds camaraderie and pushes business forward.
Yeah, and I would say our team is incredibly close, and we see the benefits of that being that our team is there for each other. They pitch in, nobody leaves anybody else on the own because it's not their problem or it's not their job. I think everybody on our team really clearly understands how their role fits into the agency and how everyone else's role fits into theirs. The only adjustment to that I would make is that I think we've fostered a really strong team culture, less so than a family culture. And I'm really close to a lot of the people that work here, and I love all of them. But we're definitely not a family, right? Like your family can screw up a million times and there's no consequence for family in most cases. Here, you have to be accountable and you have to be able to do the work. Otherwise, there's not room. Like everybody at our agency is highly functional,
Right.
and very, very professional. And we work remotely too. So there's a lot of trust, and the kinds of shenanigans my family and I get up to would not withstand the required amount of accountability and trust, right? Like if you're dragging the rest of the team down, you have to go at the end of the day, which
Well, I appreciate that very much, actually. When I think about, I think that, creating long tenure with your employees and making sure that, you have people that your best people stay, right? Because that's like the hardest part is like, all right, I know that this employee is the high functioning, the work that they put out is, invaluable to the company, right? If I lost them, well, I would be, there would be a huge gap, right? The amount of time that it would take to replace and train and get somebody up to snuff to replace the experience that person brought to the table would be years, right? So like when you have something like that, it's all about those sort of core culture tenets, the mission, vision, and value, the culture that you put about accountability and continuing to get better and all of that. It's like you can kind of tell a business is going to do well when they've implemented that culture by design instead of by default, right?
Yeah. And it took us a while to get there too, right? Like I mentioned, I'm not by trade, I'm not a business owner. I don't have a business degree, and even fell sideways even to managing the small team that I first started managing 2 agencies ago, right? And so everything has been sort of like learn on the job, try to be authentic and treat people well with respect. And lamentably, like we'll joke occasionally, like we could be a lot more successful if I was more of a scumbag. Like that's just the reality. But that's not going to happen because I don't know how to operate that way, and it wouldn't feel right. So.
Yeah, one of my favorite things about that is back early in the early Google days, they had on the wall it said Google, and then underneath it said "Don't be evil."
Yeah,
on the HQ wall or whatever, and then they took that away.
They sure did.
Can't prove it,
Also, they acted relatively evil and monopolistic for a long time before they yanked that off the wall.
Right. Yeah. So, if it's just not in the design of the company to like you said, be more of a scumbag, then like that's probably a good thing. I think that like there should be more businesses that operate with clean and proper ethics, right? Like, almost wish there was a higher level of reward for companies like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it flows through into our sales tactics too, right? The first time I talk with a potential prospect or a client, we're really trying to fit out and feel both ends of the relationship. And if it's clear that we're not the right fit for somebody, we're going to tell them that we're not the right fit. Either they don't have the time to invest to get the return on investment, or they don't have enough money to work with us because we're not the cheapest agency in the world, or they may just not be in the right space to implement marketing the way that we do it. And it's fair to everybody to just say, like, we're not going to try to grab work that we're not best suited for, and we're not going to try to grab work just to like make money. Our employees stay for a really long time, but we also have clients that have been with us for a really long time. We've got clients with decades of tenure with us as well. And, when other new clients ask us for references and stuff, I'm happy to send all those clients to them, but also our newest client that we've onboarded. But the general idea is like, you don't end up with clients that have been with you for 20 or 30 years unless you do good work and they think you're valuable.
Yeah.
It's really easy to become an expense line on a balance sheet for a manufacturing company or for a financial institution. So the only way you combat that is bringing value and being an honest and valuable partner.
I actually just yesterday had a colleague of mine. He's my like desk mate immediately behind me. Was just talking to me about he did like routine follow up within his like sales cycle. So like I'm an employee benefits producer. I write health insurance for small groups. And he was following up, hey, it's the end of the year. Just wanted to wish you, happy New Year's, happy holidays, and kind of see how your renewal went, right?
Yeah.
And he goes, oh, I'm so glad you called me. I know that we met back in April. Our current broker kind of botched it. So like send over a broker a record letter. We'd love to work with you. And he thinks back to it. He goes, back in April when they originally met, they were like, hey, you're in a really good spot. Your broker's doing a good job. Like there's no need to make any changes or any waves. And I think that goes a long way with people, right? When you're transparent with them and you just say, hey, we're not a right fit right now. And that's cool. But thanks for hearing me out. You kind of stick out in their mind. And then when you do that routine follow-up, when something's changed, somebody dropped the ball or they get budget, you become the first people they call.
Yeah. I mean, that's the hope,
trust
right?
Josh, I trust Alex,
Yep. Yeah. If you are honest enough to turn down work, you're probably honest enough to do good work when you're given it. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
My uncle owned a tire shop for like 40 years. And so he would tell me the same thing. He said, somebody came in at one point with like, they bought their son a car and they said, I don't care how much it costs. Just make sure it's safe, fix everything that needs to get fixed. And he comes back, he goes, we rotated the tires. It's $50 or something. He goes, you could have done anything. You could have put brakes and rotors, everything. You could have charged me $2,000. I would have paid it. And he goes, yeah, that's all right. It only need a rotation. Yeah. I will bring every one of my cars here.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Client for life.
Lifetime customer, right?
Yeah.
Because you did the right thing. I think a lot of groups lose sight of that, right? There's no it's not magic. It's just like do the right thing, treat people the right way. I think the unfortunate thing is that it's easy to buy services like they're disposable if you're a business or a consumer at the end of the day. If you're not really thinking about the value of the things that you buy or invest in, then you also don't care about the service or the quality of those things at the end of the day. So it is only important in certain instances with certain people of a certain mindset. But we're marketers, and in many cases, we handle really, really, really critical elements of our clients' digital ecosystem. So they are usually pretty mindful of making partner choices at that point.
Yeah. It must be very interesting to work in such a highly technical and highly specific sort of industry. I just find that with the podcast, like I'm speaking with a lot of like experts, really high level experts in their industry. And sometimes I'm very transparent with them. Hey, like I'm out of my depth here. So just kind of like level with me. Tell me everything as if I'm like a third grader, tell me what's what. But you're the people that you interact with must be it just must be really like cool to be firing such or to be like meeting with such high performing highly specific type people.
Yeah, they're incredibly knowledgeable about their area of expertise, right? So our clients in the financial industry, they've got 7,000 acronyms, and they know their space in and out. It's the size of an encyclopedia, but they know it really well. And in the manufacturing space, the automotive and automation space, it's the same. It's just a different encyclopedia. Then we're dealing with engineers, and they're talking about the stuff that is highly specific to the products or the challenges that they're solving. And they're all incredibly bright. They're all very sharp. Very few of them have a marketing mindset. So they intrinsically understand that the thing that they have, the service they're offering or the product that's there has great value, but they're not always necessarily natural at articulating that value in a consumable way to the purchaser, right? And so that's where marketing, at least B2B marketing, comes along board, is that translation layer plus how do we put it into a channel or a vehicle that is most apt to be consumed and drive awareness for your target audience. Because you could just, if you had your engineer write the copy for your product launch and just, created some LinkedIn ads or something for it, they're not going to perform at the end of the day.
Do you do the back end like market research as well? How certain wording performs or color palettes perform better, or even down to the like buying patterns, buying windows, things like that. How granular do you get for your on your like sort of like justifying the return on investment, you know?
It depends how granular we need to get. So, like I'll give you two ends of the spectrum. On the engineering end of the spectrum, they have usually already worked through the business case for why this product or service has a return on investment or something in the market. What they're looking for is help getting in front of the decision makers or the chain of decision makers who are unaware that this problem has been solved by what they have. And that's usually pretty easy to articulate to them, like, hey, here's who we can get access to. They usually are unaware of targeting options within platforms. And so they're almost always shocked by like, oh, you can get in front of people by job titles or company or various things. Oh, you can retarget off of people who visit our website, or you can send really targeted ads to their home devices after they've been on networks or various things like that. Because as deep as they are in their world, that's deep in our world, and there's pretty separate knowledge bases there. So that's on the shallow end of things. On the more complex end of things, we're usually needing to do, if clients come to us with a challenge and they want us to come to them with the solution for messaging or something like that, or brand, we're doing a lot of internal discovery. We're doing a lot of competitive analysis. We're going out and we're looking at, everything that's in the market around similar concepts and doing keyword analysis. And then we're doing internal interviews probably, and customer interviews, and a whole bunch of things to get a better voice of the end target and make sure that we're not moving forward with too many assumptions. Because 9 times out of 10 on the other end of the spectrum, whatever they're coming to you with is built on top of a lot of assumptions that are probably incredibly reasonable assumptions to make. But when you put an assumption on top of another assumption on top of another assumption, then you make a $2 million bet on it. It's not usually the safest. But you should maybe check the math, or, check the marketing math at least before pushing on it. So,
are you at all like territory specific? I know you said you're all remote. So, when you work with your clients, is it nationwide? Are you global? Are you specific to a certain region?
It's pretty nationwide. Even before we went remote in 21, we had 2 offices. So we were already working throughout the Midwest with clients. Like in person, we would meet clients in the Midwest. We had clients on the East Coast, West Coast, Texas, all over the place. And most of our clients are national in the US, a couple in Canada. We're in Michigan, so it's really close, right? Canada's certainly closer to us than Texas. And we do a fair amount of international work for those clients, but generally only if they're headquartered in the US and have locations or branches internationally somewhere.
Got it. All right. So I always like to kind of, end these on a high note, right? So I'm curious about, and it's more appropriate now than ever because we're getting so close to the end of the year. I suppose what's your like goals for 2026? What are you looking forward to in the next 6 to 12 months?
Yeah, there's agency goals and then there's business goals, just separated by the fact that some of our, I mentioned at the beginning, like purchasing the agency and some of the buyout stuff. Some of that stuff is actually coming off of my debt sheet next year, which is really exciting. For the first time, we'll have to pay back less every month than we have in the past. And that's an amazing positive step forward for us. So from a business perspective, that's great. From an agency perspective, we have a bunch of big projects kicking off. And what we found to be really sort of exciting for the team is that the work we're doing is a lot more integrated with our clients than it has been in the past. So we're more and more operating as an outsourced marketing department. Now, I do think, I know we want to end on a high note. Some of that is relative to the job market. As organizations downsize their internal team, they tend to swing back to reinvesting in marketing agencies or outsource help. So I've seen this pendulum go back and forth a couple of times. It's definitely swinging towards the agency model right now, especially with the job market and the economy and stuff like that. And so for us as an agency partner, that's exciting, while it might not be exciting for other people. It just means we have bigger and greater opportunities to be more engaged with our clients than we have in the past. If we might have just been doing one thing, we'll probably end up doing many things with them next year. So
Awesome. So primarily marketing for engineering and financial institution, financial services. So if
Mhm.
somebody was listening or if I wanted to put you in touch with somebody and they were like, hey, I want to know more about how this marketing agency can kind of support me or whatever, and they were looking for a consultation, how would they reach out to you? How'd they get in touch?
Yeah, two easiest ways are through our website contact form, which will go directly to the team, or even just reaching out and DMing me on LinkedIn. You can find my profile pretty easily. It's just my name.
All right.
So, yeah.
Josh, thank you so much for your time and for being a guest with us on Think Small Podcast. Really do appreciate it.
Of course. Yeah. I appreciate the time and the ability to talk. So thank you.
Take care and happy holidays. Happy New Year.
You as well.